Hey there. This is Newbies to Movies. I'm Tyler,
And I'm Justin.
and this is a podcast where we like to talk about new movies that we're watching. This week's theme being biopics, really based off of a new Springsteen movie coming out. That's not one of the movies that we're reviewing this week, but we just kind of thought it would go in line with that theme itself. We're going to start off with trying to do the Immaculate Grid. Let me share it.
Also, that Christie movie came out this week and tanked apparently, but another biopic.
Yeah, everyone said I saw good reviews on it, but I have a feeling just because people are kind of tired of like biopics slash Christy isn't like the most popular person. So I
Yeah.
have a feeling it's a combination of both things. I don't know. What makes money in the box office nowadays? Just kind of weird.
Yeah.
Okay. So how the Immaculate Grid works is the top line and the sideline, they have to match up. So for the first one, it's the one word title. So it has to be just one word, but it says ignore the. So it can be really anything that still has the, but just one word. And then Joe
Yeah.
Pesci, first movies that come to mind are Goodfellas. You
That's what I
got
was
Home
thinking.
Alone. You got Casino.
Is he in The Irishman?
Yes. Let's try that one.
There's a movie called Kill the Irishman. Okay, that's good. You got that one.
So, and then the next one is title starts with A through H and ignore the again for Joe Pesci. I'm thinking Casino. Have you seen Casino?
I haven't seen it, but I know he's in that. That one should work for us. Okay, that's good.
And then released from 1970 to 2000 for Joe Pesci.
Oh,
Home Alone.
yeah, this could be. Yeah, we could do Home Alone.
Could be Goodfellas, but I feel like that
He's-
everyone's going to pick one of those.
Yeah.
Let's do Home Alone 2 and see if that gets a lower percentage.
Yeah, that will get a lower percentage. There we go.
Okay, next one is Michelle Pfeiffer for a one-word title. She's in Ant-Man and the Wasp. She's in a bunch of stuff.
She in the original Ant-Man?
No.
I can't picture her face right now. I'm losing it.
I'm trying to think. One-word title. I know she's in Scarface, but I was going to use that for 1970 to 2000.
Yeah.
Let's do Ant-Man and the Wasp because I know she's in that one. For the title starts with A through H or Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania.
Gas movie.
Released from 1970 to 2000 from Michelle Pfeiffer. I'm going with
there. I'm looking up a picture of her. I really can't picture her right now. Let me see. Oh, this lady. I think she was in the original Ant-Man too.
Was she?
In a flashback.
Oh, yeah. Because I'm about to say, like, wasn't the whole movie based around that she's dead?
Yeah, but I don't know if they're going to count Ant-Man. You know, it's kind of two separate words.
We can go to Gene Hackman.
Yeah, let's go to Gene Hackman. I need to look up a
Gene
picture
Hackman, he played Lex Luthor in the Superman way back.
Okay.
For Reeves. And Hoosiers. What else did he do? Oh, he was an Enemy of the State.
That's the one with Will Smith?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I was thinking of that. I couldn't think of the one he was in with Will Smith.
Enemy of the State for title starts with A through H for Gene.
Yeah, there we go.
Right. Released from 1970 to 2000, but one word. I'm going to go with, for one word, I'm thinking Hoosiers, a basketball movie, and released from 1970 to 2000. Almost all of his movies. I'm just trying to think of one. My problem with Superman is I don't know which one he was in. Like
Superman and the Mole Men? I thought that was a Fantastic Four villain.
Yeah. You think just try Superman, the regular one?
Yeah, we can. Well, I mean,
bang.
From 3.
From 3. Michelle Pfeiffer, though.
Was she in Grease?
She was in Grease too. Oh, yeah.
Is that considered one word?
Let's try it.
The suspense is killing me. It's like loading. Nothing.
No. Keep going. Damn it.
All right, keep going. Try Grease 1. She wasn't in Grease 1?
No, I don't think so. Was that? That wasn't her, was it?
Just guess it. Now we're done.
Yeah.
No.
Dang. Michelle Pfeiffer.
She killed us.
We tried.
Let's look up something. Grease 2. She was in Batman Returns.
2 words.
Yeah. I think the only one is Scarface.
Yeah. So we screwed ourselves.
We might have screwed ourselves, yeah. She was in Hairspray.
She was in Hairspray.
A movie called Wolf, a movie called Stardust.
There we go. Got Hairspray.
Dang. Well, 8 out of 9. That's
So
pretty
whatever.
decent, I
Hairspray
guess.
sucks anyways. Awesome. So this week was biopics, a very like large category itself that can consist of music figures, sports figures, political, historical, or just like kind of just stories that they kind of call a biopic just because it's a true story about like a group or something. Like we said earlier, based around like how there's two newer ones coming out. There's also a Michael Jackson biopic coming out next summer that looks really good because it's with Michael Jackson's nephew. And then there's another, the Beatles one is under works right now. So I think those two are like the two biggest ones that are about to come out in the future.
Yeah, biopics are really interesting to me just from a general movie perspective, right? Because the story is handed to you, and now you really got to figure out how to make it yours as a director, but also the actors. How do they fall into the character that the story is being told about? And it seems like it could go wrong really fast. You know what I mean? If you don't have the story lined up to keep the viewer entertained, it could go downhill fast.
Yeah, I agree. It's just really bit depending on the director and what way he wants to go with that person's life and or the
Yeah.
like the story that it's about. We kind of skipped over it, but let's go over like something that we want to shout out from the past week that we've been watching other than, of course, the movies. I'll start. I've been watching Pluribus. It's on Apple TV. I've only watched the first 2 episodes. It's the same guy that made Breaking Bad and Better Call Saul. So Vince Gilligan. Show is amazing. The first 2 episodes, they got 100% on Rotten Tomatoes for the first 2 episodes. If you've ever seen the Body Snatchers movie from all the way back in like the 70s, it's very similar to that kind of feeling without giving the movie or the show too much away. But I highly recommend it to anyone, especially if you like Breaking Bad and Better Call Saul. I mean, that guy could do some amazing writings. I'll just shout that out.
I really dove into biopic movies this week. I watched the Green Book. I also watched A Complete Unknown with Timothy Chalamet about Bob Dylan. I was never really a fan of either of them, but I totally get it now. They're both pretty awesome. Timothy's kind of the GOAT right now. And yeah, it was a great story. Same with the Green Book. I know you're not a fan, but I really enjoyed that movie. I thought it was a great story and it was told well. But yeah.
Yeah, I just haven't seen Green Book in forever, so I probably have to revisit it instead of just hating on it. I think it's just because it lost to the Black Klansman from Spike Lee. It's like, and I thought Spike Lee deserved a lot more recognition for that movie than what happened in the Oscars that year. Because I think he really like went out there and tried to tell a story that usually isn't told in a different way. So I think that was why I was more upset that that didn't win. So I just crap
Yeah.
on Green Book. But yeah, Timmy, I'm surprised he didn't win the Oscar last year. I know Adrian Brody was great in The Brutalist. I haven't seen it, but
Yeah.
I mean, he learned how to play the guitar, sing for like years just for that
Yeah.
role. And now this
I
new
was
movie that's coming
reading.
out. Yeah.
Yeah.
New movie
He's
coming
been
out with
playing
Monty
ping pong for
Supreme.
like 4 years, training
Yeah.
hardcore.
He said, because people said on like sets for his other movies that he would just be playing ping pong in between just to like
Yeah.
help him. It's kind of insane how much he like is going for it. We'll see if he gets any more luck this year with the Oscars, but I have a feeling it's DiCaprio's to lose for Best Actor.
Yeah.
I'd
Yeah.
be surprised if DiCaprio doesn't get a second.
Yeah.
But cool. The movies this week were Malcolm X and The Pianist. We both haven't seen either movie, so it's really exciting. We'll start with the Malcolm X movie. Super long movie, 3.5 hours, if you want to kick it
Yeah.
off, Justin.
Yeah, it was definitely a really long movie. I was telling you before the show, like it could definitely be a TV series split up, maybe across 3, 4, 5 episodes. It was about 3 hours, 26 minutes runtime, which, kind of daunting when you're getting ready to start it. But at no point of this movie, I felt bored or anything like that. It was a well, drawn out story. There was no parts either where I was like, oh, you could take that out and it would be fine. I think it was, necessarily just as long as it needed to be. Kind of going into the plot at the beginning, it follows the young life of Malcolm X, kind of his crime career, and that led into his prison sentence. They robbed a house of all the jewelry and everything in it and ended up going to prison. He ended up, finding a guy in there that told him about the Nation of Islam, kind of a group of Islamic people who, really wanted to change how the America sees Black people. And they kind of led into that. And then after his prison sentence, he becomes a really high up spokesperson for the Nation of Islam. and it kind of dives into his political ambitions as well as his fight for racial separatism, but also the very last act, I would kind of combine the two together, I guess, was about his pilgrimage to Mecca and kind of how that changed his overall view on the political violence and everything going on in America at the time. And then obviously leading right up to his assassination at the end. So for the plot, I gave it an 8. Sorry, I know I was kind of dragging out the story there, but there is a lot going on in this movie.
Yeah.
What did you think about the overall plot and just the story of Malcolm X, I guess?
I thought it was really well done to like set up like who he was before prison, because really everyone knows him after prison. No one really remembers him, or he wasn't really a big figure beforehand. So it really dived into like why he seemed like he was a really confused guy, like before prison, doing like troubling things, was trying to be somebody that he just wasn't. Like that could be part of like his really rough upbringing with his father and his mother being put into pretty much a psych ward. I can understand why you'd be confused like growing up. And then the whole prison after, I thought was really effective, of like somebody that really mentored him and really kind of just took him under his wing. And that's why he became like such an advocate for the Nation of Islam, which ended up becoming his demise, because the Nation of Islam people were the ones that assassinated him.
Yeah, I think, especially just getting on biopics this week, we see in a lot of biopics, the early life stuff is kind of ran through 15, 20 minutes just to get that initial story arc for the character going. But Spike Lee's choice to really, it was like an hour and a half before he got to prison and the Nation of Islam stuff really started to pick up. So I think that choice was really bold and really interesting to really say, hey, this is this character, and then watch how he changes over the course of the next hour and a half. And that was pretty cool.
Yeah, I think he makes that choice because a lot of people do know about his after prison life.
Yeah.
A lot of the advocacy that he did, but not many people know before. While a lot of biopics, they pick certain points in people's lives and then they try to like formulate that out. Not many movies do an entire life like they did in this one.
Yeah.
So I thought that was also different.
For characters, I gave it a 7. I think obviously Denzel Washington as Malcolm X was amazing. All the side characters, they were there to push forward the story narratives and everything like that. But I think a lot of them fell short, specifically Spike Lee's character. We didn't really see him in the second half of the movie that often.
Mm-hmm.
Delroy Lindo, we, just saw him in Sinners a couple months ago. His character obviously kind of fell off, disappeared. We didn't see much of him until the end of the movie. I think all the side characters, like I said, were there to really push forward the narrative with Malcolm X development. But besides that, just kind of there.
I think part of that may also speak to his own life, though.
Yeah.
That he really pushed people away after prison that he knew before, because he didn't want to resonate with who he was before. Because like there's a whole prison scene about like he's trying to be white when instead of accepting who he is. And then maybe he just resonates in himself, those people that he knew before, as that part of his life, and he just wanted to push it away. That's how I kind of viewed it.
Yeah, that makes sense. And then for cinematography, I gave it an 8. I thought it was really well done by Spike Lee here. Some technique I was reading about was called the double dolly shot. I'm sure you remember that scene where Malcolm X is kind of moving through the city, but you can tell he's not walking. It's like obviously something is moving him. I don't know if it's like a little cart or something like that. That scene in particular conveyed, a lot of emotional depth that Malcolm X was going through at the time. And I think the color composition in this film were really great, especially when it came to all the Nation of Islam meetings. Typically saw some darker tones hanging around that with just the overall looming plot of them coming to kill him later on.
Yeah. I thought, the cinematography, I think, was very effective of the story that I was trying to say, especially with like the opening scene, kind of like them walking through like the city with like a top down perspective, like all dressed up really fancy in like bright colors. I thought that was pretty cool as well. Yeah. Thought it was really well done for like a 1992 film. And like most biopics, I would say like cinematography isn't like a huge part of those kind of movies. So I thought it was very interesting the way that he did some different stuff.
Yeah. And from what I read, like Spike Lee does that a lot in his films. I've seen in other movies too. It's kind of like the bubble shot where the aspect ratio is in a circle and they're kind of looking into the camera. I've seen that before in his films. So it was cool to see that again with him and Denzel Washington early in the movie.
Mm-hmm.
And then for dialogue, I gave it an 8. Obviously, super quotable movie. I'm sure they took a lot of real life quotes said by Malcolm X and used them in the movie. So kind of a gimme there. But my favorite quote was, "A man who stands for nothing will fall for anything." I thought that was really cool. I think that was, Malcolm X learning in prison, stop trying to be somebody you're not and stand up for something that you believe in instead of just standing up for what the world tells you to stand up for. I thought that was a really great quote.
Yeah. I thought it was very effective of like using the dialogue in a way that, I mean, that's how Malcolm X actually talked. And same with, you could see the difference in like the way he talked before and after. And as he became like more as a public figure and like more astounded with like his public speaking, he started being like a better public speaker itself, which I thought was also really effective for like an actor himself. So that made get more into like how Denzel does it. So
yeah. And then for set design, I gave it a 7. I thought it was very interesting. In the beginning of the film, we kind of see a bright Harlem. It was, very bright. Like you said earlier, they were wearing very bright colors. And then after his prison sentence, we go back to Harlem. It's kind of grayed out, never changing environment, just kind of showing like the passage of time in between his prison stance and then also growth within him as a character.
mm-hmm.
He kind of, not that he lost any life, but he kind of changed into more of a subject for the Nation of Islam instead of, he got rid of his old self.
Yeah. It seemed like he just was like reborn as a person itself. But it's just a really interesting, because I didn't really know that part about him. Like I thought, I don't know, if you just read like the textbook, that doesn't tell you. It just tells you like that he was like a big part of movement. But knowing that like how drastically he changed his life, I thought that was really effective.
Yeah. I was kind of gonna get into that, just kind of how we're taught in school about how Malcolm X was like this extremist and instigator fighter type thing. But I never really learned about the end of his life, with after his pilgrimage to Mecca and how much he kind of 180'd on everything he had said before about, bringing people together and having unity in America. Just seeing it from a greater worldview than just America was really interesting, and kind of shame to the education system for not telling us about that.
Yeah. Not saying, because like, I want to say villainize is the right word, but in the textbooks, it's kind of, it's kind of like, Martin Luther King did it in a very like peaceful way, peaceful process way, while Malcolm X was a really aggressive and angry guy. That's like what textbooks like really kind of go after. Well, could be far from the truth of like, he noticed what he was doing wrong and he tried to change it before getting assassinated by the group that was the more angry side, that was like really rooted in like trying to be that violent.
Yeah, exactly. And like you were saying with Martin Luther King, the whole idea of peaceful protest was, obviously a great idea, but Malcolm X didn't agree with that necessarily. All he was saying was, if you're attacked, defend yourself, not go out and actively try to hurt people, but say, hey, no, I'm going to stand up for myself and stand up for what I believe in, defend my life, basically. But it was kind of pinned on us, I think, growing up, that he was like actively looking for
like he was like the aggressor. He was saying to be the aggressor when it was far from the truth. And I think even people are still confused about that today by far, that like he wasn't the aggressor. He was more so just saying, instead of just letting everything happen to you, stand up for yourself, which is completely in the right, in my opinion.
Yeah, no, I agree. Kind of getting into that with acting, Denzel Washington stole the show for sure. In the beginning, I've never really seen pictures of Malcolm X as a younger gentleman, but I didn't really see the whole vision, I guess. I was like, it's just Denzel Washington. And then after his prison sentence, I was like, oh my God, that is Malcolm X. It looks just like him. And he acts just like him. He was perfect in that role.
Yeah. Malcolm or Denzel Washington is like widely regarded as one of the GOATs. And this is like, it's such a good movie to watch, to like demonstrate that. Because I've seen him in Training Day, and he's outstanding in that too. He got nominated for an Oscar for this, for Best Actor. He lost to Al Pacino. So it's one of those things where it's like, I mean, it's Al Pacino too. So it's like, you can't be that upset. Spike Lee did criticize Denzel Washington losing that year. So I thought that was also interesting. Spike Lee's known to like very advocate for his actors and his movies in the press and towards the Academy. He has a very rough relationship with the Academy. Just like what we talked about before with the Black Klansman movie, after that loss, he is widely regarded as like coming out in the press and like really ridiculing the Academies. Thought that was just
I can't blame him if you pour all your blood, sweat, and tears into this stuff. I'd actually rather see a director care about it that much than just kind of shrug it off.
Yeah, exactly. And the fact that he hasn't won an Oscar is kind of a shame, or at least for like a Best Picture or Best Director. But getting back to Denzel Washington, he just totally embodied the role. I don't know if he's a method actor. I haven't really looked up into him see if he is, but it seems like he pretty much was him for like that entire movie. Like he just became him. It's one of those unique performances, just like how we talked with Daniel Day-Lewis last week, where you just don't really recognize him as Denzel Washington, but rather he is Malcolm X.
And then for directing, I gave it an 8. I think it was really cool how Spike told the story against, 3 separate acts. You have his early life, his prison sentence, and then after the prison sentence, being a changed man. And I think he included very great detail in this, which is not a bad thing at all. Like I said, there was no points in this movie where I felt like it dragged or did not need to be 3.5 hours. It definitely felt long. It was definitely a buckle in because this is going to be a long ride, but there was no points where I was bored, no points where I felt like anything needed to be taken out. I think it was really well done.
Yeah, I agree. Hollywood has a really big part of like doing really long movies nowadays, to where sometimes you're like, well, there's no reason for it to be 2.5, 3 hours. This is not like that. I think this movie was effective, especially if you're going to do a whole life of a person. It needs to be pretty long to get like really its point across. So yeah, I think the editing was fine. That was great.
And then for the soundtrack, I gave it an 8. I thought it was a really good, well-used soundtrack. Just as the story indicated the passing of time, I thought the soundtrack did a good job at it, jumping from Ray Charles all the way to, 10, 15 years later with Duke Ellington and John Coltrane, big jazz artists. I'm a huge jazz fan, so that I was all in on this.
Yeah. No, I thought the soundtrack was very effective for it, using times and like what music he was listening to at the time, like who, because really what music someone listens to really tells you a lot about a person. So I thought that was also very effective to say that like him listening to jazz really resound in like the way he talks and the way he gives his speeches as well.
Yeah. And then for themes, obviously some really heavy hitters here. I gave it a 9. For Malcolm, the transformation of identity over the story was a really big one, but also, the main plot of all this, the struggle for racial justice and just the overall evolution of faith and philosophy over time here in America, but also, they dive into that across the world with his pilgrimage to Mecca. Really good subjects. Obviously, it's a true story, so you're not going to be adding in too much to what actually happened, but it was displayed really well.
Yeah, I agree. Very heavy, like real themes compared to, especially when it's like a true story, because it's very real in itself. And also with biopics, it's really hard to really rate a theme when it's based off of a real person. It's like, I mean, it's their life. Like you could rate it 10 out of 10 pretty much every time, as long as it's like semi-accurate, because you can't really hate on a theme that is about someone's life.
Yeah, I think more so with biopics, it's not about the themes itself. It's more how they use the themes to, push the narrative, which I think was done a really good job here. And then editing, I gave it a 7. I think the editing was done well. I think specifically the intro scene was one of the coolest, and the exit scene. Shout out to Nelson Mandela, a little cameo there at the end. That was pretty cool.
Yeah, I was like, did the skip to a different movie? Like, what am I watching right now? I was like, wait a second, that's actually him too.
Yeah.
I was like, how did Spike Lee have that much pull to be like, South Africa, can I like talk to your president right now? Can I have him be in my movie? And they're like, yeah, sure. That's crazy to me that Spike Lee had that much pull to do that. Honestly, like I looked down for 1 minute and looked up and I was like, wait a second, is this the same movie? Yeah.
And then
also the editing.
Yeah, go ahead.
Also the editing of like the assassination I thought was really interesting too. Like jumping from him and to the crowd. And like right when you get to the crowd, you can pretty much tell who the assassinators are. Like Esposito. Yeah,
yeah, it was crazy to see him there too. Yeah, I forgot about that.
I was like a cameo for the guy that's kind of big now in Hollywood. So and then like it kind of following him through, he's going through the stairs, but then cutting back to like him getting shot, and like they shot him enough to where he was dead on point. Like he didn't get to like really have any last words because they made sure. But yeah, I thought that was really effective, like and cool edited scene.
Yeah, and you just see in the whole auditorium that it was done well, showing just the pure chaos going on.
Yeah,
Everybody running around. Obviously, his wife is in emotional distress, and his kids having to see that too is terrible.
yeah, yeah. Angela Bassett, also shout out to her. She's great in almost everything I've seen.
Yeah. And then overall, I gave it a 7.9 out of 10 or 79. Really great film. Like I said, I was kind of daunting sitting down and seeing that 3.5 hour runtime, but I was pleasantly surprised, and I really enjoyed this film, and I want to dive more into Spike Lee. I think I texted you. This is the first movie of his I've seen. I've always seen so much about him, especially in the sports world.
Mhm.
So I definitely want to dive in more.
Yeah, because he's low-key like the Knicks like mascot, I would say. 'Cause he's at literally every Knicks game.
He is.
They always show him all the highlights. Now this is, I think, third movie that I've seen with him, with two of the other ones being more newer ones like the Black Klansman and Highest to Lowest. But I really want to check out his whole stuff. Like I've heard Do the Right Thing is really good. He Got Game, I've heard, is really good. I've seen Inside Man too, which is like a heist movie with Denzel Washington. He works with Denzel Washington a lot. Like, and Black Klansman has Denzel's son in it. So I thought that was also interesting. So cool. I gave it a 8.1 out of 10 or 81 out of 100. So very similar ratings. Thought it was really well done. Cool. Awesome. So the next movie that we're doing is The Pianist, and talk about deep themes in that one. And these are more like, I would say, dark themes in this movie, considering it's based around a pianist that Spielman that was in the Holocaust, or he wasn't in the Holocaust, but he was surviving as a Jewish person during World War II, just pretty much jumping home to home. So getting right into it with the plot, I gave it a 9 out of 10. I thought it was really well done and like telling the story of his survival pretty much, and how it really relied on really brave people during that time, because harboring a Jewish person at that time was just seen as the same as being a Jewish person, because they would just sin you if they found out. So it was really brave of them to like just really be generous and take care of someone. And really like the final one with like pretty much the general, I would say, general, colonel, whatever, of like the Nazi forces taking him in. And it's like renowned that like he was against the Nazi forces like before, and then he ended up dying prisoner of war camp. But again, super brave of him to like, and like kind of lucky. You can also tell throughout the movie, and the plot kind of just goes into like how lucky he was. I mean, he got super sick at one point, and somehow like those two people that helped him end up going to check on him. If they don't, who knows what would have happened to him?
Exactly.
Probably would have died.
I mean, there's so many points at this movie you could like point at and be like, if that didn't happen, he probably doesn't make it. Like I think of when they were basically getting shuttled onto the train to go to the where you're not coming back, and if that guy didn't look up, see him, and pull him out of that line, like a split second thing, he's gone for sure.
Yeah, that's such like a crazy scene to me, because like he wants to go back to his family, but the guy's like, "I'm saving your life, like go." And he's like, I don't know, dude, that's so tough, because you want to survive, but also like your whole family, is going somewhere, and he never sees them again. Like the last time he sees his family is in like a pure chaos and where they split caramels, which is just really sad scene. Now getting into characters, I gave it a 9 out of 10. Spielman himself by Adrian Brody, I thought he was really resounding. It could get even into acting with it, but I thought such a real like character. And then like you didn't need to know a lot of backstories about all the people that were helping him, other than the fact that they were taking that chance. And they all seemed to be really into music, and that's really like what ended up saving him, was how good he was at music. And people recognize that. Really, that's really how he survived, was all this lucky and people taking chances, was because they knew him because of his astounding like piano work.
Yeah. I mean, the characters were so well done in this. They start out just thinking like, oh, it'll just be a couple weeks. Like, we have to figure this out, and we'll figure it out day by day. And then before you know it, everybody around him is gone, and just seeing his character arc was so intense and so crazy.
Yeah. And then getting a cinematography, I gave it a 9 out of 10 because there's a lot of really like really well shot scenes. One where he's walking back after like seeing his family for the last time, of him crying and seeing the streets like tear apart. And then the one where he's walking out after like running away after like the kind of Russia's come through there, or the Soviet Union at that time, and seeing it just be taken like apart. And he didn't even know that about it. I thought that was also really well shot. And then the scenes where he's looking through like the little eyeglass, just you see his perspective of it all. I thought that was also really cool, especially for like a 2002.
Yeah, no, it was really well done. I think about the scene with the fight on the wall where the Jews inside the wall were kind of, finally fighting back against the German forces in Poland. And he's just basically sitting in the window watching the whole thing. I mean, it's a whole war going on outside and he's just, sitting there watching. That was a really cool shot too. And you see basically a war going on through one window over multiple days. It was super interesting.
Yeah, especially Roman Polanski is the director for this. And the thing I know him the most from is Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, because he's like the result of, I mean, he was really close with Sharon Tate. And then Polanski was in Europe during the time that she was like shot and killed by the Manson family. So like, I never seen a movie by him, but this was really effectively done in like the cinematography manner, as well as getting into dialogue. I gave it 8 out of 10 because I thought the dialogue was done really well. Of like the conversations in between, like it was jumping from English to German or Polish. I actually don't know what language they were speaking at some points. I'm guessing it was German, based off of like the Nazi soldier. I did like how it was English because in Poland they were learning like English is a big thing, but also I hate reading subtext like the entire movie, so it really helped me out in trying to like understand the movie.
Yeah, no, I think the dialogue was a really great point in this movie. You kind of see how Adrian Brody was like he was kind of like a middle class family, and then over time you just see him switch off every other thing in his brain, and now he's just in pure survival mode. I think to the scene at the end, where he tells the soldiers, like they were like, "Why are you in the jacket?" And he's like, "I'm cold." Like that's just all that's going through his brain anymore. It's very basic survival instincts, down to his last of everything.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think there's also it's really interesting like war movie to see the perspective of like someone just trying to survive, because most war movies that you see are in a perspective of just like the battles themselves, not necessarily just regular citizens who are trying to live through the time.
Yeah.
But yeah, getting into acting, I gave it a 10 out of 10. I thought Adrian Brody was outstanding in this. I understand why he won his Oscar for this now.
Yeah.
Like he was insane in it. Really, his like shout out scene, like his shout out like movie, because he really didn't do much before this. Like he wasn't known to be like a star at that point, and then from this movie he starts to become like a star, but then like made some interesting career choices, but then comes back around in The Brutalist last year and then wins another Oscar, which is insane to win 2 Oscars and like with like a 20-year age gap, but both playing like Jewish characters.
Yeah, he was pretty amazing, and the acting and all the other side characters as well was really great. They showed care for him even when they were told not to, which was pretty amazing to watch.
Yeah, it was really well done acting wise. I'm surprised I haven't seen this movie before. I've heard it's like super sad, so I think that's why I've stayed away from it. Just because I was like, I don't know if I want to watch such a sad movie. Watching it now, yes, it's super sad, but it's such a real like movie that I would totally rewatch it in a way.
Yeah,
I would stay away from it for being sad because it's just real. Getting into sound effects, I thought it was 8 out of 10, especially like the quietness of it all. I thought it was really effectively done. Because sometimes, again, in war movies, sometimes they overplay some music when there's not supposed to be. I think the quietness speaks to it itself. And then the quietness and then the piano scene of him like playing in front of the German soldier, to where he's probably thinking in his head, he's playing for his life at that point. Little did he know that like the German soldier himself was like, probably just wanted to hear something really nicely done. And at like a time of chaos, and like he knew what was about to happen, because like towards the back half of the war, Germany knew that they were going to lose. Like most of the soldiers knew at that point, because the Soviet Unions and the U.S. were making crazy strides on both fronts. Yeah, I thought that was really effectively done.
Yeah, I think, especially that scene, he's kind of playing probably the last song he ever thinks he's going to play. That was so beautiful to watch. Just the soundtrack over the whole movie, including the sound effects of the bombs, the gunfire, all that was really well done, especially for the time period, I think.
Yeah. And then how he plays, like the song that he plays in front of the German soldier. And then when he plays it, when he's finally like free and he's back to being a normal citizen, being the same. And then his buddy who comes out of the Holocaust and then tells him like, hey, this guy like knew you. And then he's like, oh, where'd you find him? And then he ends up never finding him in his life, but because he ends up dying in a POW camp. So getting into set design, gave it a 9 out of 10. It's like really well done, really realistic. And I'm just wondering how they did it, quite honestly. Set design's pretty well when you're like, how did they do that?
Yeah. I mean, because you had the normal city, and then obviously they put up the wall and put all the Jews inside. And then before you know it, it's the end of the movie, that whole city, that wall, all of it's destroyed. And you can see exact landmarks that were there once built perfectly fine. And over the course of filming a movie, how do you destroy it and make it look so real like that?
Yeah. Yeah. I thought it was really well done, really cool. Like I want to look into like how they did it kind of thing. I've been trying to read up on it and there's not much on it. So maybe it's just one of those things that they just did and then just didn't tell anyone.
Yeah.
Getting directing, 9 out of 10. I thought it was really well, like control of a movie and like him really like giving a good perspective of like survival and that time frame. Because I feel like this kind of movie, it's so easy to mess up because if you just try to go too deep into like Holocaust movies are really like not really touched on in Hollywood because I think a lot of people are afraid to get into it, especially when you have this movie and Schindler's List that really deep dive into like those dark themes. And it's really hard to match what these two movies do. I'm getting into editing. I gave it a 7 out of 10. I thought it was like nothing crazy special about editing. I don't think any points were not necessarily needed in the movie. But I don't think anything was like crazy to point out with the editing perspective.
Yeah, I think it was good.
And then lastly, getting into theme, I gave it a 9 out of 10. Again, talking about very dark theme and like World War II, being a Jewish person within like that, within Europe itself, was probably a very scary time, very hard movie to try to depict that well. So I thought it was really effectively done.
Yeah, I think a big one, obviously is just being a celebrated musician and then the fall to basically just being a human trying to survive with nothing was really intense. And I imagine that'd be hard on anybody, but Adrian Brody really like pushed forward that narrative so well.
Yeah, I agree. So overall, I gave this movie a 8.7 out of 10 or 87 out of 100. Very high rating. I really enjoyed this movie. Thought it was really well done. And yeah, I'm surprised I haven't seen it until now.
Yeah, I gave it a 8.5 out of 10. Just right there with you. I totally understand why Brody won an Oscar for this, and the movie was pretty amazing to watch.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I can understand all the hype now, pretty much.
Yeah.
And why he's in like a lot of other stuff. But yeah, cool. Now what we're going to end it with is a biopic draft. Since there's so many, I feel like we had to do a draft for this. But yeah, so the biopic draft, the categories are going to be standout performance. And how this is going to work is if you pick a movie and you stand out a performance from it, we can no longer pick that movie at all, but you have to specifically just call out a performance for it. So you can't pick the movie.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then a music biopic, sports biopic, political / like historical figure biopic, a box office over 200 million, a future one. So like one that has not been made or you don't think a movie has been well made, to depict someone or like a group, and then wild card. So cool.
Yeah. I was going to ask you a question this week and it was going to be, what's a biopic that you want that hasn't been made yet about somebody, but we'll do that here at number 6.
And like to really talk about what a biopic means is, I would say it's pretty much anything about like a group or a person that is almost 100% true. Like I don't want to say like the ones based on a true story.
Yeah.
I would say we stay away from those movies.
Yeah.
That like aren't 100% true.
Yeah.
Even if some of them are kind of taken in perspective and like after the fact, people are like, oh, that's kind of false. Like, for example, the Napoleon movie, a lot of historians came out and said that movie wasn't accurately done with his life. Lone Survivor, super inaccurate of what actually happened. So just like 2 examples of like stuff that probably wouldn't count.
Yeah.
Cool. Let me share the random name selector.
Spinner.
There we go. Yeah.
Let's see. Oh, sound effects too. Let's go.
Yeah.
Per usual.
Yep. Always.
Yeah, clap it up. Clap it up. Clap it up.
Awesome. So you go first.
All right. I'll go first here. And I think what I'm going to do, let's see. I'll take the low hanging fruit. I'm taking the Pianist and Adrian Brody for standout number 1. Obviously we just talked about it, but this is one of my favorite biopics I think I've ever seen. And I think one of the best performances from an actor in a biopic. You truly have to embody what that person went through and did. And I think he totally did it all the way.
Yeah. No. Yeah. I don't think that would have been my first pick, but it's a dang good pick. So see, there's so many that you could go anywhere with this.
You really can.
I think I'm going to go with sports because for me, that is like, there's a lot of sports movies, but I don't think a lot of really, really good ones.
Not
So
true.
I'm going to go with Moneyball for sports.
That's good.
I think it's like my favorite sports biopic. I think there's a lot of good like sports biopic movies. I think Moneyball is like on a different tier of like how well it's done.
Disagree.
Really?
I love Moneyball, but there's plenty of other ones that I think you're forgetting or not.
I don't think so. I think I got them all down, but we'll see.
You might have not seen some of these.
And then for box office, over 200 million is the next one I'm going to get into. And for this, I'm going to go with Oppenheimer.
Dang. Yeah. Saw that one coming.
Mainly because I feel like you may pick it or want it.
I was picking it next.
Yeah. Oppenheimer, I thought really effective Christopher Nolan movie and really like interesting story about how the making of the atomic bomb with Cillian Murphy. Cillian Murphy was also on my list for standout performance. So I was like trying to pick between which one I wanted to do for Oppenheimer. But it also made insane amount of money. It made the most money out of any biopic ever, which is kind of crazy for an R-rated film too. And it's kind of with how well it was done. The Odyssey, which is coming out next summer, is already sold out. Like for the first days, the hype from after Oppenheimer, Christopher Nolan finally winning his Oscars, and all of that has led to like the Odyssey being the most hyped movie I think of all time. And I'll be surprised if the movie lives up to the hype. Just because I don't know if any movie can really live up to the hype that the Odyssey has right now.
Yeah.
So we'll see.
So for mine, I'm going to go box office over 200 and I'm going to take Bohemian Rhapsody. I really like this one. I mean, kind of what you were getting into. There are some people that have some issues with how this movie was kind of Disneyfied, I guess you could say. They kind of dramatized, Freddie Mercury having AIDS and leading up to the performance at Live Aid, when in reality, he didn't even find out he had AIDS till months after that performance at Live Aid. And so a lot of people have major issues with that. I kind of get it. I mean, you want to really take all the themes from the movie and put it in order to where it's interesting to the viewer.
Yeah.
But again, that's kind of messed up when telling a story about somebody else's life to kind of rearrange events that you want to do. But other than that, a great movie about Queen and Freddie Mercury as an artist. I think it portrays the band well. And then, go ahead.
Yeah, it always is interesting when they like switch around someone's life just to make it more interesting. When it's like there's some ethical problems, I think, with that personally. But I feel like that's not like a minor detail, but like I get why they were doing that because then it like makes the performance seem more like personal and of like why he was so great in that moment. But I think Mercury was just like one of the best like performers ever of all time.
Yeah.
Like that's more so why it was so good.
Yeah. So let me see here. I think I'm going to go next for music. I'm going to take A Complete Unknown, which I also watched this week. I really enjoyed this film. I think it was a a great display of Bob Dylan, and then obviously Timothy Chalamet killed it, but really got me into the story. You know, not somebody I regularly listen to, but really made me care about Bob Dylan as a artist and been listening to his music all week.
Yeah, such well done. When it first came out, like I ended up listening to Bob Dylan for like the next month, it seemed like, just because of the movie. It's crazy how Chalamet actually sounds like him. He sounds like almost exactly like him.
Just like him.
Kind of like how Bruce Springsteen one, like Jeremy Allen White listens or sounds exactly like Bruce Springsteen in the movie. It's actually insane how these guys can do it. Our buddy Mason, also the Complete Unknown is pretty much why Mason picked up the guitar and started playing.
We talked
Almost
about
right
it
after.
last night. He was like, I have to be better than Timothy Chalamet at everything he does. I was like, I'll get you a ping pong table.
He has a ping pong table in his basement, so you just got to start playing every day.
Right.
But yeah, this next one, I think from this point on, I think we're just gonna pick different movies. Honestly,
Yeah.
I'm gonna go with historical figure just because. Now I'm gonna go with standout performance and Daniel Day-Lewis as Abraham Lincoln.
Yeah. I haven't seen this yet, but I figured you were going to take it.
Yeah. I just couldn't figure out if I wanted to take it as a movie. He's such a good movie. If you want like a good, like historical, like movie where it really just gets into like the 14th Amendment, him fighting for that, like his part of his life up to his like assassination and how he was fighting for it to happen so quick. And like the movie kind of gets into like, why are you such in a rush to get this done? And then it happens. And then almost like a week or two later, he gets assassinated because of it. And I feel like that's why he wanted to push for it so long. Not that knowing that he was going to die, but more so like he knew people did not want it to happen. So that's why he was really pressuring it for it to happen.
Yeah.
And he looks exactly like him. It's actually insane.
Yeah, he does. I've seen the clips from the movie. I was like, oh my God.
Yeah.
That's insane.
Yeah. Dude, it's crazy. Cool. So next pick I'm going to do is political figure or historical figure. I'm going to go with Malcolm X.
Okay.
Yeah. Thought it was really well done. I mean, we already talked about it a lot, but yeah, wanted to take in political / historical figure.
Yeah. Let me see here. I was definitely going there next. So let me just pivot real quick for political. Actually, first for sports, I'm going to go with the best sports biopic by far. Moneyball is a close second, but Iron Claw, have you seen it?
I've seen Iron Claw.
Oh my God, that movie tore me apart for weeks. That is such a well done story and so sad and so tragic. And yeah, I still think about that movie all the time. I actually watched that before, like a week before we filmed our first episode for this. Yeah, it's so great. Efron does great. Jeremy Allen White's in it. That's terrible, sad story, but really good.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Iron Claw, I saw it in theaters, and then when it finally came out, it was just really well done. I'm surprised Zac Efron didn't get more love for it, like his performance. He was astounding in it.
Yeah.
He's also kind of unrecognizable because he broke his jaw like 2 years before, so it doesn't even look like Zac Efron, but and then Jeremy Allen White's great in it. It's all just really great. And then it led to people really looking forward to the Smashing Machine with The Rock.
Yeah.
Not even close to as good. Not even reaching to the point. To be fair, two different stories, but one based off of like their life, while the Smashing Machine is based off of a documentary about this guy. And it pretty much just copies the documentary rather than trying to switch up at all, which I didn't like.
I'm actually going to pivot again for my political or historical figure. So it has to be a historical figure.
Yeah, I mean, if you say it, and then we can pretty much see if that counts or not.
Okay, I'm thinking Miracle. That was so instrumental during the Cold War. That was like moon landing. Miracle.
But for those three different categories, if you were like wild card, I 100% agree. But since we already have a sports one, I don't know. I don't agree.
Okay. I'm going to do hidden figures then.
Okay.
Literally in the name. So obviously the story is about, when NASA was trying to get, I think it was John Glenn into orbit, and, just the African-American women kind of working behind the scenes and kind of really bad working conditions, and telling the story of that, and then them finally being able to get the credit they deserve was pretty amazing. But a great movie. I remember watching this probably in high school and just kind of astounded at how well that was done too.
Yeah, it's amazing. I think I'm going to go with Future one first because I don't know where your head is at this. We could just do totally two different ones. But I'm going to go
Yeah.
with Teddy Roosevelt. There has not been a good
Okay.
movie done. One of the most interesting presidents and interesting people of all time, which is just a shame.
I kind of figured that we would have just had one, but
No, there's not. If there is one, there hasn't been a big one, and it should be a big one because he's like,
yeah.
yeah, I don't know who's going to do it, but someone needs to do it at some point.
I feel like the best thing we've seen of him has been in Night at the Museum.
Yeah. Where he's like kind of just like a jokey character, not even like actually going, it should just dive into like how much of a badass he was.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's where I wanted to go with Future. I think the next one I'm going to go with Wild Card, just because I would be surprised if you took the music one that I want. I'm going to go with Social Network.
Dang, dude, that's where I was going with Wild Card. That's crazy.
Yeah.
I thought you might have
Yeah.
forgot about it.
Nope. It is rated as like my number one movie of the 21st century. When I did like a random ranking way back, but I love Social Network. I can probably watch it every month and not get tired of it. I think it's so well done. Such a beautiful movie. And like, I thought about taking it in a historical figure because I think Mark Zuckerberg will go down as a historical figure. But since he's still like so prominent,
Like, he's kind of present. Yeah.
Yeah, it's hard to be like, yeah, he's such a figure when literally this movie's Facebook's still in such a big thing now and all that.
Yeah.
So I thought Wildcard was like really the only one that I could take it in.
So I'm going to take for my once, I'm going to take, this is kind of out there, I'm going to take Eric Clapton. I think one of the best guitar players, one of the best musicians of all time. Obviously, he kind of jumped around in his music career, starting with Cream, heading to Derek and the Dominoes, and then kind of doing his own thing for a while. I think it would be an interesting story. Obviously, I think you know the song Layla by Derek and the Dominoes. So interesting thing, that's actually a love song written about George Harrison's wife. And him and George Harrison were really good friends. So yeah, they ended up getting a divorce, and now she is married to Eric Clapton. So I don't know what happened there, and I'd like to see a movie about it.
They made touch on it in the Beatles movie.
Yeah, I don't know, because this was really like later. This was like after the Beatles and everything. Well, after everybody broke up.
What I've heard from the Beatles movie is that it's two parts. So they're doing two movies, and they're doing like their whole life, like all of them.
Okay.
So I'd be surprised if it wasn't brought up.
Yeah, it could be.
I can't wait for that movie though, the Beatles movie. Because have you seen the actors with it?
No, but originally they were. I did see the actors. Originally, it was supposed to be 4 separate movies, wasn't it?
Oh, I think it. Never mind. Yeah, it is 4 separate movies.
Yeah, and
about going and then diving into each one. Yeah, which I mean, you see the 4 actors in it. It's insane. Like Joseph Quinn, Barry, Paul Mescal, and Harris Dickinson. Like 4 of the youngest big actors. And I'm glad they didn't do Chalamet because Chalamet doesn't look like a single one of them.
Well, also, I'm pretty sure they're all British too. Which just do it. Like, don't stop giving these American actors British accents.
I think they all are. Harris is, Barry is, I think Paul is. Paul is, and Quinn. Yeah, wow, they are all British.
Yeah,
and then
I'm already happy with this movie. I don't care how good or bad it is.
Yeah, and then I can't remember what her name is, but she's in like Lady Bird and all that. She's really good too, and she's going to be like one of the wives. I can't remember which like wife she's going to be, but Paul McCartney's wife.
And then let me see here. I got like so many movies left on my list. I have no idea where to go for a wild card. I'm just going to take this music thing all the way home and take Rocket Man, I guess. I really like this movie. Obviously you have Taron Egerton playing Elton John, and he was amazing. Little side thing, he ended up being in the movie Sing, and he sang an Elton John song in that, which I think ended up landing him the role of Elton John. Plus he looks just like him, which is kind of cool. And they talk about how good of friends they still are, which is pretty neat. And the movie was really good. Kind of reminded me of like a drug trip at some points in the movie. I think we saw this together in theaters.
Yeah, I think we did.
It was a pretty great story.
Yeah, I remember this movie doesn't have the best like PR about it. Like it's really hit or miss for people. Some people really didn't like it. Just because of like there are some interesting directing takes within the movie where it does feel like you're on a trip, but I mean it's Elton John. You kind of have to, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Cool. So last one for me is music, which I had a feeling you were going to take this, but I picked Straight Outta Compton.
I haven't
Have you
seen it.
seen it? Dude,
No, I haven't.
you you are missing out.
I'd
This is
probably
such an
really enjoy
interesting
it too.
dude. You would. I think you would love this,
Yeah.
dude. It's like low key my comfort movie, which is like it's such an interesting comfort movie about
Yeah.
NWA. Dude, like I think I see this like almost every other month. Like I watch this like 6 times a year. That's how much I love.
Like I
And
just
then
imagine you getting like a cold and sitting on your couch with your tea, like snuggled up, and you're like watching shit out of Compton.
I love it. I like yeah. And then like every time after that, I want to listen to NWA for like a week or two, and I'm like, yeah, dude, it's so well done too. The
Dude,
actors.
your
It's also
dad listens
crazy.
to a lot of NWA. Every time I
Yeah,
go over and we're in the bar and he's like playing it, I'm like, dude, find a new group. Like,
that's what he grew up listening to. So
no, I
uh,
know.
me,
It's awesome.
me and him actually saw it in theaters together. He like brought me to go see it in theaters in like 2015 when it came out,
Yeah.
and he was just jamming out the whole time it was playing. He was like, yeah, such a good
I
movie.
tried.
And also
I tried.
O'Shea Jackson plays his dad,
Yeah, I
Ice
know. That's
Cube.
so cool. Yeah.
Yeah,
He was in, I think he was in the Obi-Wan Kenobi series. And I remember seeing a video about him talking about how excited he was for that.
cool. You want to go into some shout outs / honorable mentions? I have so many.
Yeah, I have a couple on my list here. Let me see. Obviously, we talked about Miracle a little bit. Ford versus Ferrari, Remember the Titans, Wolf of Wall Street's another huge one for a lot of people. I'm kind of surprised I got snubbed. I have American Sniper on here as well. Schindler's List, we talked about a little bit earlier.
Yeah, I think I'd stay away from Wolf of Wall Street because it was based on a true story kind of movie where
Yeah,
I'm pretty sure a lot of that shit didn't happen, but
yeah,
very Hollywood-esque movie where they kind of like dramatize things that I
yeah.
don't think all happened in the way that it was. So that's why I kind of stayed away from it. Yeah, I'll just get started. Standout performances: Day-Lewis, Cillian Murphy as Oppenheimer. Surprise. Or if I didn't pick that, that was going to be my number 2. Leo as Belfort, Jesse Eisenberg as Zuckerberg, Margot Robbie as Tanya Harding, and Tanya. She's great in that movie. Jessica Chastain as Maya in Zero Dark 30, Brad Pitt as Billy Bean, and then Christian Bale as Dickie Eichland from The Fighter. Getting into the music honorable mentions: 8 Mile, the Eminem story.
Yeah.
Dude, that movie's really good too. The Dirt, it's about Motley Crue. It's on Netflix.
Yeah, that movie's nuts.
Yeah, I love that movie, dude. Especially Machine Gun Kelly playing the drummer. Like, that's insane.
Yeah.
And then Elvis. Personally, I didn't like Elvis because I thought it was
I
just
haven't seen it.
it's too weird for me. Like the way they made it was a little too weird for me. The Austin Butler's pretty good in it. Sports. Remember the Titans, The Fighter. Have you seen that? It has Mark Wahlberg,
No.
Marky Mark, and Christian Bale in it. King Richard, Will Smith. It's
Yeah, I heard that's good.
the year that he won the Oscar, but then also slapped Chris Rock. Iron Claw, I also put on here. Foxcatcher, wrestling movie. And then historical figure, we picked all of them. Other than I would shout out Hamilton, even though it's a play. It's kind of counts as a movie because they came out with a movie just depicting a play. Box office, Pursuit of Happiness was one of them. Another Will Smith movie, really sad movie. And then 3 wild cards I'll point out is Spotlight. Yeah, if you haven't seen it, you need to go see it because it's insane.
I haven't seen it.
It's about like the Catholic Church and how they were hiding like child predators like that were priests in like Northeast America. It's insane. Zero Dark 30, also great movie. And then Fruitvale Station has Michael B. Jordan.
I haven't seen it, but I heard.
Yeah. And then future ones, I put Jim Brown. I think Jim Brown's like depicted as like being parts, but I think he was such like an impactful guy in like the civil rights movement that I'm surprised and like one of the greats of all time in football history. Like I'm surprised there's something about him. He's also a Cleveland guy, so I was like, maybe I should just pick him just for Cleveland.
Yeah.
And then Dolly Parton, I was like, I'm surprised they haven't done a Dolly movie yet. I think she's like probably backed up. Hopefully they pick like a country artist to do her some justice. And Halen, I think that would also be a really interesting band to do because they switched singers like after like their 2 most popular albums, and then they came out with 1984 with a total different singer, Sammy Hagar. So I thought that was also just different. And then Led Zeppelin and Nirvana, those 2, another 2 bands that I feel like Kurt Cobain is like such a hard figure to try to do in a movie though.
Yeah, I his kind of whole thing is like, not to be famous and just do his own thing. And I don't know how the family would feel about that, especially, knowing what he would probably want.
If I'm guessing, they've probably tried, and then his family's been like, no.
Yeah.
If I had to take a guess.
So I don't know with that one. Led Zeppelin would be really cool. I didn't really think about that. I mentioned Louis Armstrong as well. He kind of revolutionized jazz, and it was so iconic with so many like really famous songs that have been covered so many times now. That's one I think of too. You mentioned somebody and made me think of somebody else as well. Trying to think. Oh, you mentioned Jim Brown. There is a movie that I want to watch, not a biopic, but it's called One Night in Miami. And it's about it's basically like a fever dream of Malcolm X, Jim Brown, and then Muhammad Ali and somebody
Kareem,
else
probably.
somebody else all being happening to be in Miami that night. And they all kind of are sitting in a hotel room talking about like their stance on everything going on in the world at that time. And I kind of want to watch it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Never
I'm surprised-
actually happened, but it's yeah.
Interesting. Yeah. Because those were like the big guys that they all like back each other up during that time too. And
Yeah.
Kareem. I'd be surprised if the other guy wasn't Kareem, just because Kareem was like.
No, hold on. I can look it up. Let's see here. It was Cassius Clay, Jackie Wilson. Hold on. No. What are we doing here? Cassius Clay, Jim Brown, Sam Cooke, and Malcolm X.
Okay. Sam Cooke. Awesome.
So,
yeah, this was a fun episode to talk about biopics. I think such a large category that honestly they just keep making them. So
yeah.
Awesome. Well, thanks for listening.
Yep.